Well, Betsy and Thomas here again for your best Trump tweet decodes on the internet. And today we're looking at the tweets of August 28th, 2018. President Trump has done more for minority groups in this country than any president in decades. That was a quote from Lou Dobbs that was retweeted by Trump.
And they usually say he's a racist and he is totally against black people and Mexicans and everybody but the white supremacists. Such lies. He gave Omarosa, how do you say her name, Manigault, a $200,000 wedding reception. And that's how she thanked him. And yet he's still, he's still dealing with it. Because why? He has been given awards for being a person who supported diversity in all of his companies. There have been no complaints about him. Remember, if there had ever been any complaints, any charges against Trump, we would have seen it on the headlines of the news for the last 2 years. So when it comes down to it, what he has done is he's turned the Republican Party from the party of basically conservative whites to the party of all people, because he is the opposite of a racist.
Well, it has always been the party of all people, but it's the Democrats that would have you think that if you're black, you have to vote for Democrats. If you're Hispanic, you have to vote for Democrats. And that's beginning to change.
Yes, what's his name, Dinesh D'Souza? That it's a lie that the Democrats have always been for the minorities. They are the ones who suppress the minorities. It's completely the opposite.
NASDAQ has just gone above 8,000 for the first time in history.
I say that the tech lords are the ones losing out because they just sold all their stock recently, didn't they?
Yes.
Once again, Trump out-Trumps them even in their rigged stock market. They really want to take him down. I mean, what have we seen? Mainstream media coming out begging, crying for recessions, depressions, for war, for World War III. Anything that can stop the Trump successes. Folks, that's all we've heard. From the moment he's come into office and he got that tax relief, he put in everybody's pocket, even illegal aliens, but all citizens in America of all races, colors, creeds. He is not any of those names they call him. And now, as we're going to get to further tweets, why would you listen to anybody but just Trump himself? He's doing more videos. He's doing more news presentations on his tweets. They will try to take down the tweets eventually. And then at that point, he's going to simply turn them all into public utilities because their crime will be so overt. For instance, the crime of Robert Mueller is so overt now, and Andrew Weissman and all of his gangsters, that it's good not to close it down. Let it continue. Let the people who believe the rumor that Jeff Sessions has a plan that's in link with Donald Trump and that Donald Trump is lying when he criticizes Jeff Sessions, well, those people are weak-minded, and that isn't true. And they just simply need to listen to Trump, because that's about the only place you're going to get the news that's true, unless it's here or there in the alternative news or in some people are trying their best, but they just don't really go too far with it. So listen to Trump, and you'll know what's going on. And what is he saying? The stock market's booming, and he's not going to stop it. Why is the stock market booming? Let me whisper this in your ear. It was always rigged. Is that not what Trump told us? Didn't Trump tell us he has no money in the stock market? Now, if he was like any other insider trader in Capitol Hill, in the Senate, in the Congress, in the Supreme Court, or working for the federal government, he would be using his insider information to do what? Turn his billions in tens of billions into hundreds of billions, because he can manipulate the stock market by simply saying a word. But what you see is that it just keeps going up and up until at one point he said out loud, well, it needs to have more natural adjustments to the stock market. And bingo, the next day it dropped 500 points. Then it went up 600. Then a few days later it dropped. So what's happening there? He's allowed the plunge protection team to take the high-frequency traders out of the mix. And when that happens, you can't manipulate the stock market, so you can't create artificial plunges. And so now, if there's any plunge, it's because the U.S. Treasury is allowing it. And he has so many tricks up his sleeve. We have yet to even see the slightest of the many tricks that this man can do to the U.S. Federal Reserve and to other agencies that fly into false flags of being part of the constitutional republic.
Well, I certainly hope that at one point it's about closing the Federal Reserve, which we don't need. We just need to have our money issued from the U.S. Treasury. The people don't need an intermediary of a bunch of banksters.
First, we seize their assets, then we audit them. And, well, first we seize their assets and freeze their ability to sell their stock.
Right.
And then what we're going to go after them for is stock manipulation. How do you think that the central banks aren't insider trading on the New York Stock Exchange?
But in the end,
this is absurd.
It's going to be a pinch for everybody. So it's good that we get the economy roaring now. Maybe it'll be less of a bite.
That 20-whatever trillion debt is odious debt. We don't owe it. We don't have to pay it. And sometime in the probably 5th or 6th year of MAGA and continuing to make America great, you will see that he will probably take down and completely restructure the fake U.S., fake Fed, fake Reserve.
Right. Okay, next tweet. I smile at senators and others talking about how good free trade is for the U.S. What they don't say is that we lose jobs and over $800 billion a year on really dumb trade deals. And these same countries tariff us to death. These lawmakers are just fine with this. Well, of course they are, because they're globalists. They're being paid by globalists to destroy America, like a bunch of vultures just eating our carcass.
Absolutely. TPP, NAFTA, all the other trade deals put money in the pocket of every person who voted for it. Remember, they immediately got $10,000 of lobbying money to sign TPP, though none of them read it because it was in a basement on Capitol Hill, and it was, 3 feet high. No one ever read it. Almost all of them signed it and got a guaranteed, and this is unbelievable that we live in a country with the government that allows such things, that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce told if you sign this, because they were behind it, you get an automatic $10,000 donation to your Democrat or Republican.
And that these people, these elected individuals, are willing to destroy America and hardworking American families to put an extra $10,000 in their pocket. It's disgusting.
And it's so disgusting, Betsy, because they called it free trade, and they voted on it, and they created a bill. And that bill then stops the president from negotiating much except within the parameters of that bill. So let me explain something to you. It isn't free trade. It was never free trade. NAFTA cost us between $3 to $5 trillion added to our debt. That's what it cost. It didn't benefit us at all, not one iota. It was a free Obama and Clinton and Bush they continued to give away our trade under the auspices of free trade, which just meant higher tariffs and more debt each year for us. And then they say we have a free market. No, we don't. We do not have a free market. That is a lie. It is manipulated, it is controlled in 1,000 ways. We've already not 1,000 ways. In many ways, we've already told you many of them in our intelligence reports. I could go into that. But the point is, free trade? No, that's a lie. And so these senators, they know nothing. These the representatives in the House, they know nothing about trade. They all whined and moaned and said Trump was going to crash us and it was going to be the end of our economy, and the trade deals and the talk of tariffs was just going to be horrible. No, it's going to be better than ever in U.S. history. We predicted this, and now the numbers come up that way. There's only like one category where MAGA and Trump and his policies haven't put us into historic high levels of gains and or low levels for unemployment and such things. We are 1 inch away from being the best we've ever been. And as he says, he's only just started.
You know, another thing that is disgusting is a conversation I just overheard you having with one of the editors of an alt media site. And that is about this pedophilia, all this crime that exists in the Catholic Church. And I don't understand why law enforcement in this country isn't going to these parishes and arresting these priests and putting them in jail.
Well, Betsy, let me ask you a question. If they were Protestant, do you think they'd be arrested?
Oh my gosh, yes. What is it? If you're a Catholic priest, you get some special, we're not going to look over here. These people need to be arrested. What they're doing to children is just abhorrent.
If an evangelical preacher did this to one child and got caught, what would happen?
Oh my goodness, you know what would happen.
He'd go to jail.
Yes.
Maybe for the rest of his life,
And you'd
depending
have a
upon whether there was a
feeding prison.
conspiracy to cover it up and whether there was a blah, 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 blah,
But
blah,
what
right?
you've got is a Catholic Church. It must be in the bed with, what, the CIA?
Always, and the Council on Foreign Relations everywhere. The Jesuits are the most effective form of subversion on the face of the earth. Think of it. They have a Catholic parish in every neighborhood, don't they? And they're controlled by who? Now, strictly Jesuits. Francis is a Jesuit. The curé is a Jesuit. And who is it that comes to their defense whenever they have these problems? Jesuits. And when you get charged with these crimes, whether you're a bishop or a cardinal, what happens? You get promoted by Pope Francis. The one in the last two who've been now called out, where there were, in this one case with Cardinal McCormick, 72 priests, thousands of cases, not one of them ever charged, no law enforcement action ever. And in the end, what does he end up saying? Oh, it's just one person's word against another. No, this is institutionalized. This is a monopoly. This is literally a type of pedophilia racketeering.
But I don't understand. What is missing here? If a priest has done this to you, and who do you report it to? Are you reporting it to law enforcement, or are you reporting it to the Catholic Church? I mean, you need to report it to law enforcement, and law enforcement needs to go and arrest these pedophiles.
But remember, when we say law enforcement, we're saying the same law enforcement that allows sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, and the very law enforcement that lets a murderer, knowing that they are a murderer, out on the street to murder again. We're living in post-truth age, falsehood politics. When you say free trade, it's anything but. When you say open borders...
Well, what kind of world are we going to live in when harming children in this manner is okay and all the adults on this planet are turning a blind eye?
It looked just like Britain. And the Parliament itself literally passed a law saying that they could no longer investigate both their offshore accounts and the pedophilia that was rampant in the Parliament and in the royalty, frankly speaking, throughout the United Kingdom. And so they said, okay, we'll give up our offshore accounts, but we're not giving up our pedophilia. And then right after that, they put forth a bill saying consensual sex with a child should be 6 years old. This is who we're dealing with.
Who is going to save the children of this planet? We entrust law enforcement to do their friggin' jobs.
Well, it goes all the way to the British monarchy. It goes throughout. Here's what happens. When you get into a power position, then someone is going to blackmail you. Why? Because that's how they control you. So someone was asking me, is there absolute proof that Pope Francis is a pedophile? And I said, not him specifically in individual cases, though he certainly covered up for that. And his theology has led to a lot of social Marxism in South America that has led to the deaths of many, some say, untold amounts of people. But what is he doing? He says open borders. He says that his Catholic agencies are taking care of refugees. No, they're not. They're being turned into human trafficking. And what's the number one thing in human trafficking? Pedophilia. Number two, turning women into sex slaves. And then organ harvesting, and then using them for work. This is standard operating procedure. The Pope supported Obama and Hillary creating 80 million refugees, which the UN was faking and saying that they were taking care of. They weren't.
Well, all these parishioners that are going to their Catholic church on Sunday, they are condoning this Pope action.
These aren't even Catholics. They are actually have to give more money for Catholic relief services after they receive, I can't quote the numbers anymore, but look in our intelligence report and you'll see that we clearly told you where the largest, don't look for small pedophilia, look for the human trafficking going on, because pedophilia is the top of that iceberg. And it is huge. For instance, the people coming across the border, I keep quoting this, when will people understand who are politicians, and when will they have a conscience that lets them realize 75 to 85% of all females who come across our southern border as illegal aliens entering this country have already been raped many times. They are probably being human trafficked, and they aren't even the children of the people that they're with. And for sure, it doesn't matter who they're with. To get across that border, they're probably going to have to be raped. serially raped. So why would anyone think we don't need a border? That's impossible. You know that I didn't exaggerate this enough the other day. The opioid crisis and the fentanyl being made by pharmaceutical companies in China and in other countries and in our country and literally going out and being brought back in by who? The drug cartels on our southern border. Why can't we stop them? Because they're part of the rogue CIA. We're talking about tens of thousands of pounds of this stuff is being confiscated every week or two. That's enough to kill people throughout all of America, and then they don't want to look at the war that's going on there, and they don't want to look at a pope who says we must have open borders, or a George Soros who demands it and gives out $18 billion to the very groups that demand open borders. Tides Foundation, folks, anytime you look at any of these groups, David Brock, we once confronted them and said, you get money from George Soros. And they said, we don't get money from the Open Society. No, they get the most of their money from Tides Foundation and a dozen other foundations that take money from the Tides Foundation and Open Society. So just look close. When you see anybody being violent or closing down free speech, that's George Soros money. Why is this being allowed? Because these are institutionalized criminal rat lines that have been going on so long that the bureaucratic career politicians, which means senior executive service members, simply keeps things going as they always go.
Thomas, I'm reading too many stories about babies being raped. What the hell is going on?
Well, we're seeing, there's two sides to that coin. At the same time, you're also seeing the greatest advancement in human consciousness in the shortest period of time, for good or for ill. So you have machines that literally are eating people's consciousness. That would be your phone and your computer and games you play and television. And then you have others trying to manipulate you through ideology. As you always say, we're on a prison planet. We're slaves. We're debt slaves to the system. Yes, but you can awaken out of that and have a higher consciousness, and you have the greatest amount of resource material, the greatest possibilities here in America, to advance quicker than ever before. But at the same time that people are advancing, people are going backwards. They're becoming animals, more so than ever. Now, mind you, it was only a few thousand years ago we were still making human sacrifice and drinking human blood and eating human hearts. And our priest kings, not priestesses, priest kings, men, were doing this, and it was standard operating procedure in the Aztec and the Toltec and the Mayan, at different cultures at different times. Human sacrifice common until the blood ran down the steps of the pyramid so thick you couldn't see the steps. So what is going on? The worship of Moloch, the worship of Satanists, the worship of all kinds of money, of greed, of the 7 deadly sins. So you see more grotesque things going on now than ever, but at the same time, look closely and you will see things that are going great. For instance, that they're putting John McCain to lie in state as a hero is disgusting. At the same time, you have Donald Trump doing more for America than any president, maybe ever, in American history. Literally. And putting his life on the line, because he's had many assassination attempts, including ones that were in text messages between agents working for the DOJ and the FBI who literally threatened to kill him, to carry their extra gun that they shoot people with and leave at the scene of the crime, or to put the nails in his coffin. They made threats of death to him and nothing happens. But you think that's bad? No, it's not bad. That we can sit here and talk about that and that people know about it and that it's in all these different alternative media reports is the greatest thing we've seen. We've never seen the deep state underbelly.
Well, then we go into the next 2 tweets because I'm going to read them. Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged for me and others so that almost all stories and news is bad. Fake CNN is prominent. Republican, conservative, and fair media is shut out. Illegal? 96% of results on Trump news are from national left-wing media. Very dangerous. Google and others are suppressing voices of conservatives and hiding information and news that is good. They are controlling what we can and cannot see. This is a very serious situation. Will be addressed.
Will be addressed. That's the second or third time he's made that threat. They're now using him. He can actually, as the president, use his own case, and now they have the statistics. And what does he say here? Suppressing, controlling, illegal. And he's actually quoting the statistics. And we've quoted these before. He's quoting 96, we quote 97. But the point is, it's illegal. And all he's doing is calling them out again and again and again. Why? Because eventually he's going to take action. But right now, it's the best thing they can do. Because then when he takes action, there won't be such a big fight. Everybody will say, yeah, CNN, totally fake news. Not only that, they're owned by, all media owned by six companies, which are ruled by 6 people, and they all happen to be certain types of people, and blah, 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 blah. So what is really going on here? This is, again, a warning to them that he is getting ready to squish them after the midterms. Go ahead, play your games. Now I'm going to explain the games. Why does Google do this? Because Eric Schmidt, through the U.S. Digital Service, gave $1.5 billion to start doing this, and Hillary Clinton got government money to pay for a template to win the election. So they were connected together, and all information about you is then all put into one place. So you have your own digital black box that you are in, and they tried to control it during the last election. They weren't successful, and they got caught. That's why they're answering to this. So what do they do now? Now they openly get together and say, oh, we are going to simply rig. Okay, now, how are you rigging it over there at
Twitter?
Twitter,
what are you doing over here at YouTube? And they actually colluded.
Here's the list of the people we knocked off. You might want to knock them off too, because why? The Southern Poverty Law Center, the biggest fake George Soros group, oh, they put you on a list, so therefore you're gone. Or David Brock and Media Matters, the most corrupt guy, the person who gave out money to whores to try to accuse Trump of having relationships, and we're still spending how much time on this with Michael Cohen and Dusty and the whole, it's all fake, folks.
And we know that the IRS is sitting on tons of complaints from citizens pointing out the corruption that's right in front of us with David Brock and Media Matters, but still crickets. Is there anybody over in the IRS that wants to do business for the people, the taxpayers?
Well, Lois Lerner and Rod Rosenstein and Robert Mueller and Comey might as well be a four-headed monster because, they're more than in bed with each other.
Yeah, but they're not there anymore. So what's the new IRS chief's problem? Why isn't David Brock being called out? They like to use, the IRS loves to use a poster child every once in a while. That keeps all of the rest of us being honest on our taxes. And David Brock is openly committing such incredible tax fraud, and nothing is being done.
He's such a bimbo. He has one office and runs like 10 of these Soros groups through it, and then doesn't even lie about it. He just comes out and says, "Yeah, that's the way I do it. I'm the man. I have big hair."
Well, I'd like to see a poster child made out of David Brock.
So the rigged is illegal, and now CNN will not retract. And as you notice, the White House have made official records stating that CNN has not retracted. So when this happens, they're building a legal case, and that's what. But they know that. The media knows they're on their last leg. The only reason they're propped up is because Facebook gave capital infusion to CNN, or else they would have died. Same thing with New York Times. Same thing with so many of these groups. Because why? They're on their last leg because everybody knows they're garbage. If there was any other choices, people would go to it. If you could lift up your profile at Facebook and move it to a new site, everyone would. Everyone hates Mark Zuckerberg, don't they? And if you don't, then you just haven't listened to him and you don't know what a fraud he is, which means you didn't spend any time listening to him. So what's going on here? Again, we warned them, Decency in Broadcasting Act. Oh, get ready, folks. This is illegal. And Trump, if you're doing this during an election time, and he's already said he's running 2020, so he's already on the election campaign. If they're messing again with the elections, he's the president. You think you're going to get away with it this time? No, what's going to happen is you're probably all going to collapse as corporations and you're going to be taken over by the government, and then we will be able to simply blink an eye, and your Facebook will no longer be Facebook. It'll be a government utility, or it'll be run by Leader Technologies, the group who invented it, and they stole, and all the downline of inventions have to have Leader Technology as part of them because they use their more than base code, their ability to create scalable
Yes.
internet interactions that are secure and to store data in a way that had never been done before. Well, Leader Technology can come in and take over all of those companies that were founded on their technology as subsidiaries, literally, and they could work with the government. And it wouldn't be anything worse than the fact that these big Silicon Valley tech, fake cardboard cutout tech kings are simply monopolies. And they don't exist.
Set up by the government and the corrupt
Yes.
U.S. Patent Office and all the, in the surveillance state. They set this stuff up and then they put out a little candy for all of us. Oh, come on in and play, and it's all good, and everybody's going to have their little play space on Facebook. And then, boom, what do you know? They are getting your personal information. They're selling it. Now they're going to surveil you. If you don't speak the way they want you to talk, they're going to shut you down. Well, you know what? We need to shut them down.
Yeah, we can, because the internet used to be DARPANet, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. It's all military. It was funded military. The Capital Venture came in through basically crooked banks. They did all kinds of illegal things before they became public companies and started trading on the stock market. They did illegal. It's all illegal. Because why? It's stolen from the patent office, just like you said. It's stolen.
You know who runs our patent office?
That would be Serco, and that would be the Queen, and that would be Jeffrey Patty.
If you are an innovator, or you know innovators, the last place on the planet you want to take your innovation is to the U.S. Patent Office. They will rip it off. Like the guy, Steve Morton, down there with his paint on those ships. They just ripped him off as well.
Anything that can be militarized or weaponized is what they steal, and they stole this technology and they weaponized it as a psyops experiment, and the experiment got out of hand because too much commerce went on to the internet. And now let me finish the story. Eric Schmidt recently got a contract with the Department of Defense called the Digital News Initiative, and therefore what Trump is talking about here is the direct effect of Eric Schmidt and Google. And they say Eric Schmidt isn't there anymore. That's a lie. Eric Schmidt developed this. He bragged about it. Now he's in China. He did it in China. It's called Dragonfly in China, and it's called Social Credit System. And it's the social credit system here. If you even find a good Trump site by doing a Google search, it's going to go against your social credit, your digital credit. And then they start to limit what you can do on their site because it's a private corporation. This was from the beginning set up this way, so that these cardboard cutout tech kings can do whatever they want. And then when it goes bad, they simply fold up shop and open up again. And that's what they've done. They're all clearing their money out of their own companies.
Yeah.
A third of it is supported by central banks. So it's a fake stock market. It's a fake rigged system. And they know that. So basically, it's 1/3 over evaluated. The value of your stock,
well, let's not
any
give
of the
stock
FANG,
advice here.
I'm not, but the value of your stock with any of the FANG or basically NASDAQ or any of the big groups that are tech-oriented, they're all inflated. So what are we saying here? We're saying that free speech is being squelched on what are touted to be public platforms. That's illegal. They also claim they're not broadcasters. Wrong. They're aligned with broadcasters, and who they give as choices then means that they are the gateway for broadcasters.
Yes.
Therefore, they are broadcasters. They close down alternative news, which means they're basically fascist corporatists. And you can only get away with that for a while until you either lose everyone who's paying money for you to do the service as the corporation, you lose your military or government contract, which is what can happen with Amazon, it can happen with Facebook, it can happen with Google. Simply pull back the government contracts, they collapse, literally. They collapse almost immediately. Charge them the taxes that they're supposed to pay, they'll collapse in 1 year. Remember, Amazon only recently started to make money. People don't understand. It's a fake company. Bezos, they call rich. No, that's all fake. That's his stock in the company. Bezos, last year, I believe, or the year before, was the first year he made any money. The company doesn't even make money, and they get postal service discounts like beyond your imagination. They get U.S. government support. They get Department of Defense contracts without even doing a bid. And these, of course, are gouging contracts, and they're contracts where they can charge anything they want. They're open-ended, and they give whatever services they want. And you've noticed they've failed in their services again and again and again. So these tech companies are fake. They're like Cisco. Remember the time when Obama said, "Ooh, look here, we have a video has been released of Cisco working with the CIA, putting backdoors into their routers that they're sending to foreign countries." Well, that was an FBI sting, an NSA sting on the CIA.
You mean somebody at the FBI was actually doing their job?
No, they have rogue groups in all of those, and they fight against each other, and they work with the corporations. And Cisco had made... Remember, Cisco at one point, every single thing you did on the internet went through a Cisco router, period, worldwide. They controlled it all. And who controlled that? Well, the Pentagon controlled that. Just look at the history of Cisco. We've spelled all this out in our intelligence reports. So all of a sudden, Obama shines a bad light on them. Cisco stock went down, I forget, five something billion dollars in a matter of a week. It didn't come back up until all of a sudden Microsoft saved them and brought them into cloud computing and went back onto their program of the Internet of Things. But the point is, the president can turn around with one of those little stings and allow a sting to happen where just by public opinion, the company would crash literally overnight. If that's really what Trump wants to do, he can do that anytime he wants.
Okay, the last tweet I don't want to spend a lot of time on. Everybody sees it in the news. Consumer confidence pops in August, the highest level since October 2000, which is really fantastic. But I want to spend the rest of the time for you to talk about John McCain.
Okay, but I want to say something about consumer confidence.
Well, yeah,
it's across the board, and it's also for military. Now, Trump is touting this now. Why is he touting it? Because there's going to be world peace, folks. So before there's world peace, he's selling everybody the weapons that all of our presidents have been renting them and leasing and basically doing for free. So it's a clear out sale, okay? It's a fire sale. Sell all this stuff to these people who all say they want war, and when everybody gets all equal with their war machines, guess what? There'll be no war. Because they all fear these machines, okay? So it's as simple as that. Consumer confidence is just skyrocketing, and that is in light of the fact that the entire global deep state and the anti-republic, anti-constitutional shadow government, the 10,000 strong Obama warriors, the senior executive service members, as well as the corporatocracy, as well as the big bankers and the brokers, have all been hammering on Trump. Every one of them, the Bilderbergers, the Trilateralists, the Council on Foreign Relations, any group, doesn't matter. And what's he doing? Destroying them all. Because they're all old channels of money that are so corrupt that every inch you take along that channel, you got to pay another tax to another ex-president or to the Queen's Privy Council or to Crown agents or whoever, but it's the old system, and the old system is being smashed. Any minute, we're going to have President of Mexico, which he just did, the past president of Mexico. Remember, both the current and the past president of Mexico said they would never do business with Trump, and NAFTA's not over, and they're not going to build a wall. Now they're kissing his foot, both feet.
Both feet.
And they're going to pay for the wall, whether they know it or not, because Trump just said.
No, the Canadians are going to pay for the wall. I'm telling you, in the end, that's how it's going to work out.
That's pretty funny, the Canadians. Well, Trudeau would first have to figure out that he's not still in France, okay? Or Britain.
No, because their deal is going to be so bad. That's what I'm talking about.
In
the end, that it makes out that they pay for the wall in Mexico.
But Trump is already softening up Canada. He says, you can tariff us all you want. We're going to tariff your cars, and then we're going to soften you up. And by the way, we're going to make a ton of money, while your stubbornness and your virtue signaling and all of your preaching as if you are holier than thou, it just simply goes down the toilet, because those words mean nothing when it comes to reality. The reality was you were screwing us, you're a vampire, we're just not going to do business with you. You want to ship stuff to us? We're going to just jack up the price just like you do. Oh, you don't want to play that game? He can wait it out. Here's the deal. If they don't get on board soon, they go into a new fiscal year. They're going to be in huge trouble, Canada.
Thomas.
And everybody doing business with Trump that doesn't get a bilateral deal right now, goodbye, NAFTA. But notice what he did. He didn't close NAFTA down. He used it, he expanded it, he twisted it so it can't be recognized. He's putting a new name on it, which they can do every time they review it. Putting a new name on it, and guess what? It's not going to be NAFTA, and he didn't have to go to the Congress because they're idiots and stupid, as he called them, really, really dumb, because these people don't know anything about business. Look at where we're at, $800 billion in deficit each year for trade. That's stupid. We don't need to do any of that. And anybody who you think we need trade from, well, then we need to develop that ourselves right here, right now, because there's nothing America doesn't have. We are one of the only countries in the world that is 100% independent. China is less than 45% independent.
Thomas, people wig out when they see a video that's 50 minutes. They don't want to invest the time. So, and I know you wanted to say a few things about John McCain. Also, I've got the links to our Whore of Babylon article and one that we did on John McCain.
I'll go easy. You posted such great articles for us about John McCain telling all the truth that is now only coming out long before anybody else did. We told you he was the Republican who paid for the dossier, Russian dossier, from the beginning. We told you that.
That was in March 2017.
No one even to this day has said that, but now it's come out.
I mean, it was like a huge duh. Of course he paid for it. He
is a criminal. He was a friend of Obama and Hillary's. He supported their criminality. He caused the Keating 5 affair, which cost us between $2.5 and $3.5 trillion in debt that we're still paying, which we're not paying. It's on our debt. He was the creator and helper of the dossier from December 2015. We told you this. He worked with the Senate Intelligence Committee. Mark Warner, the most corrupt person in this whole Christopher Steele Trump dossier, was working directly with him through his man, Henry Kerner. We pointed all of this out. And remember, when McCain ran for office, he had foreign governments donate. Illegal. When McCain was running the last time, he sent 2 letters, which we got a hold of and printed, where he demanded $1 million in each letter from the Russians to donate to his campaign. Okay, does anybody notice the double standard here?
Can you imagine if they found a letter like that from Donald Trump?
And here's what happened. He got a $10 million donation to the McCain Institute, which is where he got the money to pay for his copy of the Christopher Steele dossier. But that $10 million went on to continue to donate to Daniel Jones, who was the intelligence staffer for Dianne Weinstein. Feinstein. I would say Weinstein. Dianne Feinstein.
I'm sure she knows Weinstein.
So anyway, you know her, the ugly one. She's really, really mean and always has a nasty look on her face. And she likes to lie a lot. And she quit the committee now because she's been so disgraced.
Because she's got a Chinese spy, and then her husband, Richard C. Bloom, he owns part of this Avid, which is the technology they use on the television channels to run the same story over and over again. These people are so corrupt.
Someone changed her name from Feinstein to Chinestein, and I really like that because that fits just right now. McCain got $10 million from basically radical Muslims, put into the McCain Institute, which he was queried about over and over again. He says, I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. Lie, lie, lie. He then donated some of that money to Daniel Jones and Penn Quarter group that carried on the attack against Trump when Fusion GPS got basically outed and Christopher Steele was no longer making cash from both the FBI and the State Department and probably a few other agencies as well as being paid by Fusion GPS. So John McCain picked up the work of attacking Trump with a coup d'etat right out of McCain Institute, and we're going to say he's a hero. That man is one of the worst, and he's going to be replaced as long as you people in Utah don't realize that your stupid voting machines...
Arizona.
No, he's going to be replaced in Utah by Mitt Romney.
Well, yeah, but when you say that, people are going to go, what?
Mitt Romney is equally as corrupt as John McCain, who was the Secretary of State of the deep state.
Are you kidding? he's going to win the election because his brother Tag and his RNC chairwoman niece, Rhonda Romney, Art of McDaniel, are not doing anything to uncover this rigged system. They have their electronic ballot boxes that they own and operate with their company.
They own the company?
Yeah.
Interheart Civic,
Yes.
and his son runs it.
Yes.
17 states
And
have
what?
Mitt Romney election machines.
And then you got Rona running around running the RNC. People, wake up.
But you got Diane Chinestein running Avid through her husband, who owns 10%, which basically is Eric Schmidt's digital news initiative, which is how they are filtering every single Google query to make sure that politically you do not get to anybody who is a Trumper. Trump himself, anyone MAGA, or anyone who is a Trumper who is Republican or Democrat. So what is happening now? Free speech attack. What is John McCain? He is one of the worst. He doesn't want free speech. That man is such a liar. He went to so many countries and with the rogue CIA to start wars that you can literally say he has the death of millions of people on his hand. No war ever that he encountered he didn't like, he didn't support, he didn't work with the rogue CIA and corporatism to start wars.
He made money off of war. And his wife Cindy and his daughter Megan benefit from making money off of war and killing millions of people.
McCain's money is in Raytheon and in a bunch of military-industrial complex companies. So every time he promoted war, he put money in his pocket. So he shouldn't lie in state. He should lie in the deep state. And he should be called out for what he is. Remember, he was called Songbird at the Hanoi Hilton. All of his people, except for a couple, turned on him and told the truth. John McCain is literally the Republican representative of the shadow government. And I am glad he's gone. And please, folks, do not let Mitt Romney come and take his place.